Welcome to The Explainer. You know, governments spend a ton of public money on big new health policies that promise to make all of our lives better. But how do we really know if they're working or if they're just, expensive flops? Today, we're diving into the Watchdogs of Wellness, the systems that are designed to tell the difference between a life-saving policy and a total waste of money.
I mean, think about it. It's a huge question, right? A government announces some major health initiative with a lot of fanfare, promising amazing results. But how do we, the public, actually cut through all the political spin and figure out if it delivered on that promise? How do we hold them accountable? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful set of tools called monitoring and evaluation, or M&E for short. The best way to think about it is like the health system's own regular checkup. It's what keeps these massive policies on track and, hopefully, effective. Okay, so let's break this down because monitoring and evaluation sound similar, but they're totally different things. Monitoring is the constant check-in. It's like a nurse checking a patient's temperature and blood pressure every few hours. It's routine. Evaluation, on the other hand, is the deep dive. It's the full diagnostic workup to see if the treatment is actually working. So, for example, monitoring might track how many anti-smoking pamphlets are being handed out each week. But the evaluation? That comes in a year later to ask the big question. Did smoking rates actually go down because of this? One's a pulse check, the other's the full physical.
So, why do we care so much about all this? Well, it really boils down to three huge things. First, accountability. This is how we make sure our tax dollars are actually doing something good and not just disappearing. Second, it leads to smarter decisions. It gives policymakers real hard data to fix what's broken and, just as important, to double down on what's working. And finally, it's all about transparency. When we can see the results, it builds public trust, which is absolutely essential for any health system to work properly. Right? So if you're going to hold these big policies accountable, you can't just rely on gut feelings or guesswork. You need hard data. And this is where we get into the real nitty-gritty of it all, how to measure what truly matters using something called key performance indicators. And this slide shows the whole process perfectly. These key performance indicators, or KPIs, follow a really logical flow. First, you have input indicators. That's basically what did you put in? How much money? How many staff? Simple enough. Then you've got process indicators. These track the actual activities. Did the new clinics actually open on time? Next up are the output indicators. These are the immediate, direct results, like how many people got vaccinated. And finally, the one that really matters, outcome indicators. This measures the long-term change. Did the disease rates in the community actually drop? The whole system works best when these KPIs are SMART. That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's a simple framework that turns a vague goal into a target you can actually hit. Okay, so theory is one thing, but the real world is where this stuff gets really interesting, and the stakes get incredibly high. So now we're going to look at two real-life stories. One where a great M&E plan led to a huge success, and another where, well, we're ignoring it led to an absolutely spectacular multi-million-dollar disaster. All right, so our success story takes us all the way to Chile. Their public health system was wrestling with a really tricky problem. How do you properly care for patients who have multiple chronic illnesses all at the same time? Their solution was to roll out a brand new integrated patient-centered care model. And here is the absolute key to their success. Chile didn't just launch this new program and cross their fingers. Nope. They built a super strong M&E framework right from day one. They used really specific KPIs to track everything. And the results? They were undeniable. We're talking dramatic improvements in how satisfied patients were and, more importantly, in their actual health. It was just a clear, data-driven win for public health. And now for the cautionary tale. Let's head over to Queensland, Australia. They had what sounded like a pretty straightforward IT project. Just implement a new payroll system for the health department. What could possibly go wrong? Well, a lot. It spiraled into a massive, massive failure. Honestly, the breakdown was catastrophic. The new system was rolled out without being tested properly, and it just created instant chaos. We're talking doctors and nurses being underpaid, overpaid, or sometimes not paid at all, for months. The fallout was a financial black hole that ended up costing over $1 billion, and it completely destroyed morale among the frontline health workers. I mean, it is just a brutal lesson in why you never, ever skip the checkup. So those two stories really lay out the high stakes, don't they?
Knowing all this, how do we make sure we get more stories like Chile and fewer like Queensland? What are the common roadblocks that get in the way, and what are the strategies to actually get past them? Yeah, getting M&E right is really tough. You're often fighting an uphill battle. A few things consistently get in the way. You might have poor data quality, you know the saying, garbage in, garbage out. Then there are resource constraints. You just don't have enough money or enough trained people to do the job right. Getting all the different stakeholders, politicians, administrators, doctors, to agree on goals can be a huge political headache. And finally, there's just a simple resistance to change, you know? People don't want to change course even when the data is screaming that the plan isn't working.
But look, these challenges aren't impossible to overcome. The solution is to build a smarter system from the ground up. That means investing in training to build up our capacity. It means involving communities right from the start so they're part of the solution. We've got to embrace technology to make collecting data faster and way more accurate. But honestly, most of all, it requires a real cultural shift. We need to create a system that's obsessed with learning and improving, where data isn't used to point fingers and assign blame, but to constantly get better.
And all of this brings us to one final, really critical question. We've seen how absolutely vital good data is for this whole process to work. But in a world full of competing interests and intense political pressure, how can we make sure, really guarantee, that the data we use to judge our health systems is accurate, reliable, and truly free from bias? That's the challenge that we all face as we demand better results and real accountability from our health policies. Thanks for joining me.